Hello, and welcome to the channel. My name's Greg. I'm really happy to stop by, and I want to thank you all for the support, all your comments and stuff. Keep joining in and engaging because that's what I like. Okay, I'm doing these reviews for you because I'm playing stuff and being handed things that are instruments and pieces of equipment that we use all the time. So I want to give you guys an honest review based on my experience with the stuff. That being said, today we're talking about the Yamaha Broadbass. The Yamaha Broadbass has been around since like 1980s. I think is when the early 80s is when they issued the first Broadbass. And today we're not just going to be talking about the Broadbass, we're going to be talking about the 5-string Broadbass. Okay? Did you know that Yamaha was the first company to put a low B 5-string into production and make it available to the average individual? Before that, there was only a few, and they were all custom made for A-list players that ordered them. And they were, you could have bought a house for what some of these things cost back then in the late 70s and early 80s. But in 1985, Yamaha issued the first low B 5-string that was ever available to the public. And they looked much like this. Now this one is based on those original styles, okay, but there's a difference. This thing's active. It has a 9-volt battery. It has a 3-band EQ. It has a blend and volume, and it's always active. There's no push-pulls or anything on it. It's just an active 5-string Broadbass. Okay. Now, I was asked to do a review of the Broadbass, but not just do a review of the Broadbass, to do an apples-to-apples comparison of the new Broadbass that is in the price range that most of us would be purchasing at. Okay. And actually, the new Broadbass that I'll be reviewing it's the next step down from the Pro. And there's about $1,000 or more difference between the price of the two. Okay, and we'll get into that later. But this is the last generation, old school Yamaha Broadbass. It's a BB 615. BB is Broadbass. Okay. This was last generation's upper middle entry, or offering into the 5-string basses from Yamaha. It has a bolt-on neck, 4 bolts. Like I said, it's active. It has a P pickup and a J pickup with this big bars. The post there, it doesn't have individual posts. It's got one big bar. But I mean, this is a pretty nice bass. These things are built like tanks. They're heavy. So if you don't like a heavy bass, don't get the older one. The newer one's lighter. But I mean, these things are really nice. You could tour with this bass. It's solid. You can do anything you want on it. They're extremely versatile because of the EQ and the blend and volume. You can get a lot of different tones out of this thing. You can play any style of music you want on one of these basses. The original Broadbasses were not active, they were passive. But over the years they did a little bit of upgrading and updating. And what was offered was active in 2005. I think 2005 was the first year for an active bass. I may be wrong. Don't quote me on that. If you find out different, please let me know. Come on the comments section and let me know when their first active one was, active 5. But yeah, this is it's a sweet bass. It has, check this out. The knobs have these rubber O-rings on them, so you can grip them really well. You're not going to, even if your hands are sweaty, when you go to, you know, make an adjustment, you're not going to slip on the control because it's got these rubber O-rings on here that give you something to grab that's a little soft and something to hang on to, which I like that. That's really cool. That's a nice little touch. There's also, look at this. If you can see that. Ah, there we go. Right here, this little piece right here. That is a plastic insert to protect the wood around the truss rod adjustment port there. You stick your Allen wrench down there, and you can adjust the truss rod in the neck from there. You don't have to take any covers off or anything. Just pop it right in there and go. And they put this plastic insert in there so that, you know, if you go a little far or you pull it out and it kind of pops out, you're not damaging the wood or the finish. Very thoughtful little piece that they put in here. Another thing, because the low B tends to get kind of floppy on a 34-inch scale, which is what these bases are. These are 34-inch scale, not the bridge. B strings don't tend to like 34-inch scales. This one, what they did, this is Yamaha getting kind of smart. If you'll notice, they extended the bridge on the B string. That stretches the string out just a little bit more so that it gives the string the ability to get a little tighter, and it's not as floppy and, you know, rubber bandy like it would be on a regular bridge on a 34-inch scale base. Honestly, a B strings like to be on a 35-inch scale base. That extra inch gives it a lot more tension and a lot more stiffness in the string. But this little extension here does a lot. You'd be surprised. Okay, so I'm going to just play this real quick. Very cool bass, okay? But, all right, this is not the review. This is last generation's offering. Okay, like I said, this is a 2005. All right, let me turn off the wireless on this one so I can grab the one that we are going to review, which is the one you're probably, if you're buying new, this is the one you're going to be buying. If you're buying used, go ahead, buy a BB 615. Awesome bass. You could tour with this thing. It's built like a tank. This thing's from 2005. Look at it. It's gorgeous. Everything still works. All the controls still work. It's a wonderful, wonderful instrument. I highly recommend it. Now, this here beastie is what we're here to talk about. This is the BB 735A. I don't know why it's an A. Maybe there was a previous version of a 735 that I have not seen, so I don't know. But what this thing has, I'm going to go through. It's got basically the same controls as the last generation. You've got a volume blend, or a pickup blend, a volume control, and a 3-band EQ. Okay, bass, middle, and treble. All right, it's a 34-inch scale, but with this bass, in order to give that B string a little more length to stretch out across the bass, they stretched them all out. Let's see. Those little ferrules are the entry points for your strings. This is neck through body, but it doesn't go to the bottom to keep the angle a little softer so as not to put a hard bend in the string and cause it to break there. They put them on the back here, the bottom part of the back, so you get a nicer angle coming in on the bridge. But you could string it both ways. You can see there's holes. can put them back here, but I would not recommend using bridge strung. I recommend using the body strung, because if you use the bridge strung, you're not going to have enough, stretch on the B string, and it's going to get pretty floppy, because that's what they do on all 34-inch scale basses. Okay, this thing has a rosewood neck. It has a 5-piece mahogany maple neck. It has a sandwich of maple and mahogany for the body construction. So instead of doing it like this, mahogany through here and then maple wings, what they did was a sandwich. They did it like this. You got maple and then mahogany down the middle, and then maple again, and it's sandwiched together to make it stronger and give it more resonance, because mahogany is a really good tone wood, and so is maple, but maple's harder, so you got a nice dense body. This thing, they shaved off some of the body. They made it a little bit smaller. It's not as wide as the originals, and it's not as thick, so it's a little bit lighter. It's not as heavy as that beast. That thing's really heavy. That bass is over 9 pounds. This thing feels like it's probably in this over 7, close to 8 pound range. It has a gloss finish on the body on this one. The other one, there's two different finishes. There's this one, and then there's a black satin. Okay, the neck is black satin. The headstock is black satin. But here's one of the things that they changed now. Okay, they made the body a little smaller so that it took off some of the weight, but you can see it's still balanced. It's not neck diving at all. It'll hang on you nicely. Okay, but look at this. Six bolts hold the neck on, and these two go in at an angle. Very cool, which actually pulls the neck into the body and then pulls the neck down onto the body. Very neat engineering there. This bass feels very solid. It has standard large open back bass tuners, open gears. They seem to work fine. They seem to stay in tune. I haven't had a problem with them. I've gigged this bass. I've actually gigged this bass twice now. I've taken it to several rehearsals, and I'm very impressed with the quality of this bass. The fret job on this thing is perfect. There are no fret ends coming out at all. It is perfectly smooth up and down the sides of the neck, the high and the low sides. The fret jobs themselves are perfect. You can get a nice low action on this bass. I had no problem with dialing in an excellent action. And then there's the tone. The tone is awesome. Another thing they changed was the pickups. As you can see, there's no big bar in this one, like there is in the old school version. What they made, the pickups are a little smaller than what's in there. What they did was they made them a standard size so that you could use other manufacturers' pickups should you want to install different pickups in the bass, which makes it more appealing because now it's a mod platform and it's under $1,000 for the instrument as is. Okay, which is where your higher mid-grade offerings are these days. I remember Fender, the jazz bass. I'm a big jazz bass fan. I own a jazz bass. It's sitting right there. When the MIM jazz basses first came out, they were $350 brand new out the door. All right. Today they're over $800. They came out in the 90s when, it was the early 90s when Fender started making stuff in Mexico. And that was affordable. Now, like everything else, the cost of living has shot through the roof, and what used to be $350 in like 1993, now in 2023, it's over $800, and that's about where these are too. These are they're under $900. Depends on where you go. I'm sure the prices fluctuate depending on your music seller, and you know. But yeah. Anyway, this is it's a sweet bass. I really dig this bass. Let me turn it on, and I'll give you a little demo. Another thing I like about this thing is this little switch right here. That switch is active passive. I could turn off the active EQ and go passive and get some really cool old school tones out of this thing. And when you do that, you shut off the EQ, the treble knob becomes the overall tone knob, just like if you had, you know, just a 3 knob setup with a passive 2 pickup bass. Typically you got 2 volumes and a tone on your standard passive 2 pickup bass. So what ends up happening is the blender works still, the volume works, these 2 are shut off, and this handles all the tone. Okay, so I also want to point out that the way this is coming to you, what I have done here is I have up here, I don't think you can see it, it's not in the view, but I have a studio microphone hanging above me on a boom. That's picking up the room. Then I have a bass mic on one of the 10-inch speakers in my Hartke cabinet here, and I also have a line out coming out of my Hartke amplifier. All of this is going directly into an Alesis Multimix 8. Is it an 8 or a 12? It's an 8. And then going directly from there to the PC. There's no compression, there's no effects, there's no anything, just the raw signal going right into the PC, and that's what you're going to get when I upload this video. All right. Yeah. Fingers are stiff. I played a 3-hour gig over the weekend, and I haven't quite recovered yet because I'm getting old. Anyway, I'm going to put on my headphones, and I'm going to get a drum machine going. Put on my headphones so I can hear everything, and I'm going to just jam along with the drum machine, let you hear this thing. And while I'm doing it, I'll make changes to the controls. So here we go. All right, that was passive. really booming in active mode. All right, there you have it. This is the Yamaha Broadbass 735A. Excellent. Another thing I want to share with you, okay? The next one up is the BBP 35, which is a Broadbass Pro 5-string, okay? This thing, you ready for this? Shares all of the same specs except for two things with the Pro version. All right. You ready? Two things. The only things that are different. One is the Pro version is not active. It's a passive bass, which really surprised me. That an over $2,000 bass would not come, 5-string, would not come as an active. But it's a passive bass. All right, that's the one spec. Now you ready for the second spec? Ready for this? Where it's made. The BBP 35 is made in Japan, and it will retail at over $2K. This is made in Indonesia. It retails at just over $800. Under 1K, and it shares the identical specs. I mean, all the way down to the same pickups, the same neck construction. Although the Pros don't have a finished neck, theirs is just bare wood. You can see the 5-piece. You can see the different pieces, and it comes in a few different finishes. The 735As only come in 2 finishes. Satin black, and this is called Coffee Burst. Okay, but yeah, this is every bit as good as the BBP 35, which cost over twice what this thing costs. But this is made in Indonesia, so the labor is cheaper, and they pass that savings on to you and me and the rest of us regular folks that can't afford over $2,000 basses. You know, I have a couple of basses that are pro grade that I play regularly. This one has joined that pro group. It sits right here with my Rickenbacker and my jazz bass, which are pro grade basses. Okay, that's it. I want to thank you all for coming. If you have any questions, thoughts, opinions, experience with this bass or the older broad basses, you know, whatever you got, chime in, leave a comment. I love to hear from you guys, and I love to interact with you guys. So come on and let's talk about it. Yamaha Broadbass for 2023, the 735A, BB 735A. Y'all have a nice day. This has been Tone on a Budget. My name's Greg. Thanks for stopping by. God bless.